The cold wind pushed through the bustling street, the kind of chill that scraped across exposed skin and made even the busiest people instinctively wrap their coats tighter. Cars moved slowly through the mid-morning traffic, horns occasionally echoing off towering city buildings. Everyone walked with purpose. Everyone except the young woman sitting alone near the brick wall of a closed bakery. Her clothes were worn, her hands tucked inside the sleeves of a frayed hoodie, and her eyes carried a quiet exhaustion that only came from nights spent outside. Her name was Aria, 23 years old, once a student with dreams, now trying to survive one day at a time. She had arrived at this particular corner simply because it felt less hostile than the others. People passed quickly, but at least no one spit cruel words the way they had downtown. She sat with her knees pulled close, watching her breath fade like ghosts in the air. A half-empty paper cup sat beside her. No coins inside today, no food, just cold hope. Her stomach groaned, but she ignored it. Instead, she watched the world, trying to find any small distraction from the heaviness pressing on her shoulders. A couple argued at the bus stop. A courier rushed by with a stack of packages. A young mother hurried while balancing coffee, a baby stroller, and a phone call. Life kept moving, indifferent. Aria closed her eyes and leaned her head back against the bricks. She had lost almost everything in the past year. First the job, then the apartment, then the small circle of friends too busy to stay when things got hard. Estranged from her family, too ashamed to call for help, she drifted between shelters until they ran out of space. Now she wandered like a leftover thought, in a city that never paused long enough to see her. A small voice suddenly broke through her dull thoughts. "Mommy, look. She's sitting all alone." Aria blinked and opened her eyes. Before her stood a little girl, maybe 7 or 8, bundled in a puffy pink jacket, her hair tied with sparkly clips, her eyes wide and bright with curiosity. She held her mother's hand, tugging gently while staring directly at Aria, not with fear, but with the kind of innocent concern only a child could have. The mother tensed as if unsure how to react. She looked down at her daughter. "Sweetheart, don't stare," she whispered nervously. But the little girl didn't look away. She stepped closer. Aria straightened, confused. Children didn't usually approach her. Most parents hurried them past, afraid of anything that looked broken. The little girl tilted her head. "Hi," she said softly. Aria managed a small smile, surprised by how warm such a simple word felt. "Hello?" The girl's mother stepped forward. "Honey, come on. We need to go." But the girl shook her head gently. She continued staring at Aria with an expression that felt too deep for her age. She looked at Aria's thin hands, her tired face, her worn shoes. Then the little girl did something unexpected. She knelt down, her tiny knees touching the cold pavement, and leaned forward just a little. "I think you need a hug," she said.
"Can I hug you?"
Aria froze. The words hit her with the force of something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Kindness without condition. Her throat tightened. She wanted to answer, but no sound came out. She could only stare, feeling a sting rise behind her eyes. The mother gasped softly, "Emma, sweetheart, get up." But Emma didn't move. Her small face was steady, almost brave. She extended her arms. Aria swallowed. I don't want to make you dirty," she whispered, instinctively shrinking back. "You're not dirty," Emma said firmly, the simplicity of her truth slicing through every lie Aria had learned to believe about herself. The mother looked torn between fear and confusion. "Emma, please." "Don't bother her. You're not bothering me," Aria whispered quickly, her voice cracking. The little girl leaned forward again.
"Can I hug you?"
And this time something inside Aria broke, gently, in the way a frozen river begins to melt. She nodded. Emma climbed into her arms with the openness only a child could possess. Aria wrapped her arms around the small body pressed against her. She felt warmth, softness, life. It felt like the first human touch she'd had in months. She tried to remain still, but her body betrayed her, trembling as tears slipped silently down her face and disappeared into the little girl's jacket. Emma hugged tighter, as if she sensed every fractured piece inside Aria. "It's okay," she whispered. Aria's heart felt like it was shattering and healing all at once. The mother stood still, watching with an expression that shifted from discomfort to something more thoughtful. She seemed to realize this wasn't dangerous. This was human. When Emma finally pulled back, she smiled gently. "You look sad." Aria tried to laugh, but it came out as a shaky breath. I've had a hard time, she admitted. Emma turned to her mother. Mommy, can we help her? The question hung in the air. The mother hesitated. She glanced down at Aria, really seeing her now. Seeing past the worn clothes and tangled hair, she knelt down slowly, keeping an arm around her daughter. Do you need help? She asked quietly. Aria wasn't used to people asking that. She felt exposed, fragile, but she nodded. The mother softened. Come with us. We're going to the cafe down the street. Let me buy you something warm to eat. Aria's eyes widened. Her instinct was to refuse. She didn't want to burden anyone. But Emma spoke again before she could respond. Please come. I want you to. That small voice carried more weight than anything else. Aria nodded. They walked together, the mother staying close and Emma skipping lightly beside Aria, occasionally looking up and offering small smiles as if it were her mission to keep Aria from falling apart. When they reached the cafe, warmth washed over Aria like a blanket. The smell of baked bread and fresh coffee made her eyes sting again. They found a small booth near the window. Emma slid next to Aria, resting her head against the young woman's arm as if they were old friends. The mother looked a little surprised but didn't pull her away. When the waiter arrived, the mother ordered soup, bread, tea, and a sandwich for Aria. And a hot chocolate for Emma, she added gently. Aria's fingers shook as she wrapped them around the warm cup. For a moment she simply held it, letting the heat seep into her frozen bones. Emma watched her intently. You can tell us if something bad happened. Mommy says talking helps. Aria let out a soft laugh. The child was too honest, too sincere, but her comment loosened something in Aria's chest. I lost my job last year, she said slowly. Everything got harder after that. I couldn't keep my apartment. I tried to find work, but things kept falling apart. I didn't have anyone to turn to. Emma blinked. Do you have friends? Aria shook her head. Not anymore. Emma leaned closer and whispered, You can be my friend. Aria's lips trembled. I would like that, she said. The mother watched the exchange with growing emotion. She cleared her throat. My name is Laura, she said softly. This is my daughter Emma. Aria, she replied. Laura nodded slowly. Aria, do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight? Aria lowered her gaze. Not really. I usually find a place outside. Shelters are full. Laura sighed, troubled. She took a moment, then reached across the table. I can book you a room for a week. A warm place, a shower, somewhere you can rest. Aria shook her head almost immediately. I can't let you do that. Laura spoke softly but firmly. Let me, Emma's right. You deserve help. Emma nodded eagerly. And hugs. Lots of hugs? For the first time in months, Aria laughed, a real breathy laugh. Something in her heart began to untangle. After the meal, they walked to a small hotel nearby. Laura went inside to make arrangements while Aria and Emma waited outside. Emma grabbed Aria's hand and squeezed. You're going to be okay now, she said simply. Aria kneeled down. How do you know that? Because I asked God this morning if I could help someone, and then I saw you. Aria's breath hitched. She blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the purity of the child's faith. When Laura returned, she handed Aria a keycard. You have a room on the 3rd floor. Fresh linens. Hot water? Please use it. Aria stared at the card in her hands as if it were made of gold. Thank you, she whispered. I don't know how to repay you. You don't need to repay anything, Laura said. Just take care of yourself. Emma tugged Aria's sleeve. Can I hug you again? Aria nodded, scooping the little girl into her arms. This time the hug felt brighter, filled with hope instead of heartbreak. They parted reluctantly. Aria watched them walk away, Emma waving until she disappeared around the corner. Aria pressed the keycard to her chest, breathing deeply, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safety. That night, in the warmth of the hotel room, Aria showered for the first time in weeks. She cried quietly under the hot water, letting it wash away layers of fear and loneliness. She slept in a soft bed, wrapped in blankets that smelled faintly of lavender, feeling more human than she had in months. The next morning she woke up with sunlight streaming through the window. She felt lighter, stronger, ready. Over the next few days, she bought clean secondhand clothes with the little money she had left, polished her resume and walked to businesses around town, applying for any job she could. She returned each night to the small hotel room, feeling hopeful for the first time. On the fourth day, she got a call. A cafe needed staff. They liked her determination and offered her a trial shift the next morning. Aria felt her chest swell with relief. She looked at her reflection in the mirror, cleaner, calmer, no longer invisible. She whispered, "Thank you, Emma." She didn't expect to see the little girl again, but fate had other plans. On her first day of work, while arranging pastries behind the counter, she heard a bright voice shriek, "Aria!" She looked up, startled, and there was Emma, running full speed across the cafe with her arms open wide. Laura followed, smiling warmly. Emma crashed into her with a hug so enthusiastic it nearly knocked Aria off her feet. "You look so pretty," Emma exclaimed. Aria laughed, brushing a hand over the girl's hair. "Because of you." Laura approached, her eyes soft. "We're so proud of you." Aria swallowed hard, overwhelmed. "Thank you. For everything." "You did the hard part," Laura said. "We just helped you stand back up." Emma nodded. "I told you it would be okay." And it was. Over time, they became a small part of each other's lives. Emma would visit the cafe after school, doing homework while Aria worked. Laura helped Aria find a long-term apartment. Aria saved money, rebuilt her confidence, and slowly the world started to feel less dangerous. Months later, on a warm spring afternoon, Aria sat in a park watching Emma play on the swings. Laura sat beside her, sipping tea. "You've come a long way," Laura said softly. Aria nodded. "I still can't believe everything changed because of..." Aria nodded. "I still can't believe everything changed because of one moment." Laura smiled. "Sometimes one small act of kindness is enough." Aria watched Emma laugh, her tiny shoes kicking toward the sky. "She saved me," Aria whispered. "She saw you," Laura corrected. "Most people don't look long enough to do that." Aria felt a warmth settle in her chest. Not the temporary warmth of a borrowed coat or a hot drink, but the kind that grows roots. Later, when Emma ran up breathless from the swings, she jumped into Aria's lap. "Guess what?" she declared proudly. "I told my teacher you're my friend." Aria kissed the top of her head. "I'm honored. Can I tell her you're my best friend?" Emma asked, eyes hopeful. Aria's throat tightened. "Yes," she whispered. "You can." And she meant it. Life didn't become perfect overnight. Aria still had challenges. But she no longer carried them alone. She had people who cared. A job, a home, a future. All because a little girl dared to see her not as something to fear, but as someone who needed love. On the anniversary of that cold winter day, Aria visited the spot outside the bakery. She stood quietly, remembering the version of herself who had sat there, broken, invisible, lost. She whispered softly, "It gets better. Hold on." As she turned to leave, Emma ran up behind her, throwing her arms around her waist. "I found you," she giggled. Aria lifted her, spinning gently. "I wasn't hiding." "You're smiling," Emma said. "You smile more now." "That's your fault," Aria replied warmly. They walked together, hand in hand, toward the cafe where Laura waited. Aria felt the world open around her, no longer cold, no longer indifferent. She felt alive, worthy, seen, because sometimes salvation doesn't arrive as a miracle or a grand gesture. Sometimes it comes in the form of a tiny pair of arms, wrapped tightly around you on a cold sidewalk, accompanied by 7 simple words spoken without hesitation or judgment. "I think you need a hug. Can I hug you?" And for Aria, that hug changed everything.